Okay, well, my name is Patrick Kilhenny, and I'm the host tonight, one of the hosts. And tonight we'll be talking about life purpose and about the psychic gifts and delving a lot into purpose as far as how to use your inner sensitivity, your psychic sensitivity to help you really clarify and know what you're doing and how to do it. And tonight, co-presenting with me is Esther Carhu, and we will begin here and go through the various slides, and you should be able to see. If someone cannot see the slides that are on here, then by all means just let us know. Just put up your hand there or whatever, and we'll see what's happening, but I assume most everyone can see the slides. And if not, I'll have to take it out here and this cancel. So we're just kind of waiting for a few more people here, and then we'll get started. There's a number more people that are just getting on at this point. Okay. So we're going to start out and talk about myself, give a little bit of my background, and I assume you can see it. Either way, you can see the slide this way versus the other way, but anyway, this is a little bit about myself. My background was originally as a child I was very sensitive, and I used to just have a sense of things, and different things happened, and I started to wonder about my sensitivity or how it was I knew certain things, and I'm sure a lot of you have had experiences, early on and then up to now, and about certain things that have happened that got you to start to wonder, and then probably have a sense there's something to this. And I remember one time as I was skiing along. I used to ski a lot when I was a teenager, and I went off to a big trip to the Alps one time. I was a little wild, and I went off where I shouldn't have gone, and it was a snowy day and couldn't see very far, and I was zooming along, and something like just came up inside me and said stop, and it's like this big this voice inside, and I pulled up, and I couldn't really see much in front of me, and I inched up a little bit, and there was a big cliff right in front. I almost went off. So it was like that was one thing. I had other situations also where I started to wonder about all this, and what happened after that, though, when I went to college and I became a nuclear engineer, and I started thinking a lot more with all the training and all that, and that's what happens. We talked about in the last webinar, and in the full presentation we'll talk about in a second, but if there's too much thinking versus feeling, then what happens is people have a tendency to not notice or discount those little inklings that people have. And we start to just, it may be there, or it may just notice it because we have so many thoughts and so much information that we've learned, if we have a lot of that information from the outer world. So the key is balancing out the two. So luckily, for about 10 years, I think from my early 20s especially, I tended to kind of not pay as much attention, or I used to get some ideas and then I talked myself out of it. My intellect would sort of take off and, no, don't do that, and don't pay attention to that little feeling you have. And something said it wasn't quite right, but I went by more the intellect, and that's when I had a chance to hear about this. I came to one of the lectures. The full lecture is called "The Man of the Universe," which we'll mention in a minute. And luckily, I had a chance to just when I was ready, I went to it and I heard the big picture, and I realized that something wasn't, I had gotten out of balance, and after that I started going to these practice sessions, and I had a consultation to learn about my particular gift, my psychic gift. And I started, so right away I wasn't that good the first, the beginning. It took me about a month or two. I went to these meetings every week, and we practiced techniques. And I started getting back in the groove there, I guess, as far as really noticing those little impressions and just not putting as much pressure on myself from the intellect. And then it started working again. It was amazing how well it worked. It just came back, and it was good to have the intellect because then I was not able to understand all those impressions and how to make it practical. So the idea is use both together. But anyway, that was my own story, and since then, that was like 20 years ago. I've been traveling a lot. I've started businesses in Hawaii and in New York, different places, and just using those instincts. And when I follow those instincts, things just happen. When you just go for things you have a feeling for, and that's when you start opening up that inner communication, the psychic juices, you can say, start to really flow, and you get all the ideas, or you get the feelings, or the knowings, whatever gift you are, we'll talk about shortly. And I've been touring a lot in the last 20 years. I travel a good deal, and I'm involved both in the United States. I go to Europe, and we have programs going on over there. I'll be back over there in the fall, and other places around different countries and so on. So anyway, I want to turn it over to my co-host here, Esther, to share about herself.
Hi, Patrick. Hi, everybody. Like Patrick, I had different things that happened in my youth that led me to believe that I was psychic. And like most of you probably listening, have had some things happen to you as well. And I became very interested in psychology and parapsychology and so on. But when I was in college, they didn't have any parapsychology courses, so I actually ended up studying psychology. And based on some goals I set, I ended up in banking, although I didn't know anything about banking at the time. I just followed some hunches and ended up with a management position in a bank because of my leadership abilities, which I had really developed with this organization, Inner Peace Movement. The emphasis is really on developing your psychic nature so that you can have a more fulfilling life and reach your goals and become a leader of your own life. But I had set a bunch of goals just to get over my fear of talking in front of people and to develop my leadership skills and those kinds of things. And in very short order, those things started happening in addition to being able to develop my psychic nature much better. And the big thing was that I didn't know how to control it. You know, I might have a hunch. I had a lot of friends where I'd pick up the phone and it wouldn't even ring. I'd pick up the phone and they'd be on the other end going, hello, hello, you know, and we'd end up talking, but not ever letting the phone ring. That happened a lot, but I couldn't control it. If I wanted to pick up on something, if I was concerned about something in my life, I didn't know how to use my psychic ability to help me. And that was one of the things that the Inner Peace Movement taught me, was how to make it a tool to make my life more fulfilling and more fun and easier. So that's why I work with this organization, because I think of it as a terrific way to develop those tools. And maybe it's for you and maybe it's not, but we'll talk a little bit about what's available and the basic philosophy here. Patrick?
Okay, and this is the Inner Peace Movement that Esther was talking about here, and they're sponsoring the program. It's a nonprofit educational program, a 501c3, that the Inner Peace Movement was started in 1964. The man who started is Dr. Francisco Cole, and he was very tuned in, and he was well known at the time. Back in the 60s, it was kind of an emerging topic. It wasn't as talked about as it is today, and he was well known at that time. Him and Arthur Ford and a few different people who were really pioneering in the psychic development field. And he started this program called the Inner Peace Movement, and it expanded around the United States. It was over in Europe, in a number of countries, in Australia, New Zealand, and so on. And people that were intending or going to these meetings to practice techniques were able to, a lot of times the newspapers and radios did interviews on people. There were over 10,000 of those done since 1964. And I just have an incredible archive of this media that has been done on different people, because it was such a new thing for people to talk about it, because it used to be really hidden, you know, and it was, so it was really about, you see, us demystifying what psychic is. It's like anything. Once you get the facts, it becomes real simple to understand, and that's what Inner Peace Movement was. It's just an educational, nonprofit, non-sectarian program that just helped people understand what the psychic really was. And the bottom line was that anyone could do this for themselves. No, you didn't have to go to someone else, and that was the key Francisco found. He had people come to him a lot. He was really good at readings and healings and many areas like that.